Hello, welcome to the Mark Atwood Show, Adventures in a Meat Suit. I'm joined today by Peter Trott. Hello, Peter.
Hello. Hi, Mark.
This is Awakening Stories, and you're the first guinea pig for this one. so uh, why don't we start by quick intro, who you are, how we know each other, and let's go from there.
Okay. Who am I? That's a good question. Yeah, my name's Peter. Yeah, I live down in Kent. And where we met? Well, we met as a result of my interest in Doctor Who, which is which is another story entirely. But yes, I believe you were helping sort of direct and promote some shows. And I met you after one of the shows, I believe.
Yeah, Moths Ate My Doctor Who Scarf. I directed that. Toby Haydock performed it, and that ran for about 7 years and went to the West End.
That's absolutely right. Yes. Yeah.
Crazy, crazy times. Yeah, we met after that and we had a little chat. And you were saying to me before, it was during that chat that some pennies dropped with you. What do you remember what that was?
Well, yeah. No, it was the pennies that dropped were that was around the time when I'd actually started sort of awakening, as it were. So I'd already learnt a few things and found out a few things, and it was at that time where it was just nice to meet people who you could say they're lying to us.
No, I remember. You know, we you couldn't prize us apart. But we were talking for hours, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah,
This is
yeah.
about. This must be 10 years ago.
Easily, yeah. Easily about 10 years ago. Yes, yeah, that's right. Okay. Lots happened since then, but yeah, that was it. But
So
we
what's when did you first realise that the truth about the world wasn't what you thought it was?
um, well, one of my it was I remember I used to quite like when I was a young lad, probably at the age of about sort of 15, 16. I had this fixation with Marilyn Monroe. I think the hormones had kicked in at that point, and I used to sort of have posters up of her around, and I used to have quite an interest in her. And of course, the old subject came up about her suicide,
Hmm.
and I actually remember somebody. I think it was uh, somebody who was being interviewed about that. Someone who was an investigator. I think they were actually on some sort of talk show or something, talking about a book that they'd just written called. I think it was called the Marilyn Scandal or the Marilyn Conspiracy or something like that. And I was quite intrigued by the whole fact that everyone had been told that she committed suicide, and actually sorts of people she was involved with. Um, it was we were and I actually believed it just sat right, which I think is a really important thing. When something sits right and feels right and sounds right, that's your gut instinct telling you something, and that was something that really sort of sat with me. And of course, if you're interested in Marilyn Monroe, the next thing you're interested in is, well, who are the Kennedys? And then you start having this interest in the Kennedys. And
Hmm.
then you've got the whole JFK conspiracy. Um, and then that opens a whole can of worms. And I guess I always just had it in the back of my mind that we're not told the whole truth. And of course, the big one was 9/11, and
Yeah.
as it was for everyone. And I think for a few years that I don't know. I guess I was in a bit of a state of confusion and shock for the first few years, and it was only sort of around 2004, and that I started seeing things and started talking to people, and realizing, hold on, this is another one of these. We're not we're not being told the truth, and then that becomes blatantly obvious when you start having a lot of things. When you start, seeing things, and then you get that instinct in your stomach again, that sort of gut reaction. And 2004 was a really weird year for me anyway, because I'd lost my job, I'd lost my wife, and I lost my house. Um, and it would kind of I'd hit a reset button, I guess. and
They're tough,
and
aren't they?
that means reprogramming a lot of things, and then re-looking at yourself, looking at yourself and looking at the world around you. So it kind of came at that time. I was kind of very open to it, and that's when I started looking at all the information. Things started. Of course, we had the pleasure of the internet at that point for information, and I started looking down those sort of roads. Building 7, the Pentagon, all those kinds of things, and that opened quite quite a pathway. That was, and I think that was a great awakening for a lot of people, and I think we're seeing that happening again now, but on a larger scale even.
Do you get the feeling? Do you it does seem to me that we are definitely in the middle of a really great awakening. I'm also seeing the polarity. Even today, somebody on the street that I know looked at me over their mask as I was waving at them. They were like that. And I was like, oh, that wasn't very nice. I wonder what that was about. And it's probably because of this channel.
Oh, okay.
Well, on my Facebook page. But when did you ever get to a point where you sort of came out with this stuff, or publicly, or is it just something you kept private, or?
No, at the time, no, I was always quite vocal about it. At the time, I was working as a support worker. That was part of one of my life-changing decisions on a new role and a new job, and I wanted to do something that meant something. And I remember I remember telling them about, look at the Pentagon. That's not a plane that went in there. And I remember just saying, look, this, and yes, and that's when you start realizing that you're kind of not so much now, but certainly at that time, it was kind of you're on your own to a certain degree. I was lucky. I had 1 or 2 friends that thought the same way as me and saw things the same way as me. But yeah, it's quite it can be a lonely existence sometimes.
Very much so. And did you ever get into a situation where you lost friends through the fact that you were vocal about questioning everything?
Not that I'm aware of.
They just quietly slid away.
Yeah, some people might have sort of like, not talking to him, sort of. But yeah, but luckily, I try and if I don't think if I think it offends somebody, then it's like, do you know what? That's your journey. This is mine. I'm not going to force it onto you. I think it's to a certain degree, it can be quite a personal thing, can't it? I mean, just the type of person I am, my things, I always believe that your path, things come to you and send you on your route. And if there's any lessons you need to learn, they come to you, and they come to you for a reason. So there's a reason why I was awakened to things. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a very kind of personal journey for me. I was lucky to be married to somebody that I could talk to these things about. She was very open to all of this stuff as well. But I'd get laughed at in pubs or at parties. I'd be, and when I started writing about it on Facebook a lot, I did get messages from people saying, "Aren't you afraid?" And I'd be like, "Afraid of what?" Afraid of them coming to get you. And I'd be like, well, the fact that you think there's a them means there is an issue, so I'm going to keep doing it, because and you do have to jump through some sort of fear hoops. And right now, I literally don't care because I think it's too important. But one thing I found, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I found that because there are people processing in the streets, because people are waking up rapidly. Some people have literally woken up from knowing nothing to everything in like months or weeks. And they're being really vocal about it on Facebook. There's backlash from the people that are not, saying things like, oh, why are people just telling me to wake up? You know, why, you know, like they've joined some new religion or something. And it's like, and you can see that going on. And that's really interesting as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's taken me 16 years to get as far as I have, and I still consider myself a bit of an amateur, really. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, because I look at all kinds, you know, it's taken me 16 years to sort of.
Well, it's a very deep and complicated web of deceit over our entire lives. So, and to deprogram, it involves you having to let go of some really, really powerfully deep ideas about the way the world is. So
Yeah.
that's not surprising. I mean, you know, I've been at it 30 years
Mm,
and I'm still learning stuff now.
mm.
It's extraordinary. And when it, you know, I don't know, do you feel like, let's talk about the V word. How do you feel? I mean, the VIRUS word, not the VAX word.
Um,
How's that been for you?
that's a really tricky one. That's probably one of the tricky ones, but I guess that's the beauty of that genius's plan of, you know, that you've got you. I find I have to be really careful what I say, because you only need somebody who says, I know someone who's died from that, or
Oh, yeah.
or people are dying. You know, you have to be really careful. So I find that one a tricky one. What do I think of it? I go along with the fact that it still hasn't been isolated, so it still hasn't been. Um, it hasn't actually been proved, which was part of, I believe, to do with Piers Corbyn's letter to the Prime Minister saying, actually, can we have proof that this exists? Um, I'm quite a keen follower of. I listened to her post, Kate Shemirani,
Yeah, she's brilliant.
and she knows. She kind of knows her stuff.
Yeah.
So I listen to a lot of what she says, and they're saying the same things. And you know, these are virologists, doctors, nurses. They're all coming together and saying, actually, it's another lie. And my experience has just shown to me that it's not what we're being told. I'm
Well, you know,
not saying
sorry.
I don't. Sorry, I don't disbelieve there's a coronavirus, because we've got coronavirus in us. You know, most of us have got. It's one of those things. It's like a
Well,
temp.
I think what people don't understand is that a virus is an exosome, right? Which is created within the body to fight off toxins. So it's created by the body's reaction to an overtoxification, and coronavirus has been around forever. What's interesting about this is that it's like a strain that very much looks like it was created in a lab and released. I mean, this chat isn't really about whether it's real or not. I'm not trying to trigger
Yeah,
anything. Do your
it's
own research. But I think the question is really: do you see a bigger agenda at play that this is being used for? Or do you believe this is a real thing that people should be scared of? And you know, whichever way you look at it, you kind of caught between a rock and a hard place anyway.
yeah. Whichever way you look at it, it's something to be scared of, I guess. But I'd rather be scared of the truth than scared of a fiction.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not a virologist. I didn't do that well in biology. That's another reason I don't like to sort of say too much, because I can easily be out argued by.
Well, that's true, but when there are real virologists out there saying, "Hang on a sec, this is nonsense,"
Yeah,
then we should be listening to them. But instead of listening to them, they're being closed down all over the internet,
yeah.
and they're not being talked about in mainstream
Well,
news. Therefore, there's an agenda. It's as
that
simple as that. In my mind, it's as simple as that.
that
Because
speaks volumes to me,
and
because
the
that
other thing
is.
is, if the government hasn't got an agenda, why isn't the health minister stood there saying, right, take zinc, vitamin C, get some sleep, go out for fresh air and walks, instead of wearing masks that are completely useless?
Well,
So therefore, that's why there's an agenda, and I find it extraordinary that people can't see through that
yeah,
and just
I
do what
do.
they're told.
I do, and that's what speaks volumes to me. But as I say, that's where the gut instinct goes. And you know, I also know when I'm at that stage where something like this happens. uh, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. It's not. I don't suddenly go into a fit of fear. I just go, if something big happens, this is part of the agenda. This is part of the agenda. It's like nothing is random. None of these big events are random. They're all planned.
So what's your understanding of what the agenda is, Peter?
That's quite a messy one, isn't it? Thanks for that question, Mark.
Where are we going?
Where are we going? We're going in the direction of China, I guess. That kind of sort of rule. It's rule. It's depopulation. It's control. It's better. It's bigger control. And if you believe in that, it's the transhumanism. To, once we're having our DNA tampered with and made into something less than human, then they don't have to apply the same human rights rules because we're no longer human. There's that. I think there's a great war on stripping us of spirituality, which I think is another huge part of this, because I don't believe you can be awakened and believe all these things without an understanding or without believing about spirituality and the power of yourself, and the fact that you're a sovereign being, the fact that you're a spiritual being, the fact that you are the universe, which is another thing. When you talk about the awakening and what's led somebody up towards an awakening, that would have been things like at the age of 18 and 19 experiencing acid and mushrooms and realizing, actually, what I thought was reality is I'm actually feeling energy now. I'm feeling vibes. That's very real as well. And what, that does, that open, as Bill Hicks says, it's your third eye gets squeegeed. Again, I'm still on my path there. I've still got a lot to learn. I still consider myself a bit of an amateur there, but I get the base, I get the principles. I get the idea of that. And so, yeah, it's a war on spirituality, and it's a war on us as stripping us away from being spiritual beings, being programmed and being autonomous, I guess.
Did you ever see Graham Hancock's talk on TED, which was called "The War on Consciousness"?
I've seen a few. No, I don't think I have seen that one. I've seen a few of Graham Hancock's talk.
I think it was the first, him and Rupert Sheldrake's talk, which was called "The Science Delusion." Both those talks got taken down by TED for being fake science, which was that was a big red flag for me as well, because I was going through my own journey at the time into plant medicine, and that's what Graham talks about in that. And he says there's a war on consciousness, which is a perfectly valid thing to talk about, and got taken down. I was like, well, you've got to look into, when they start taking things down, that's the stuff you should be looking at.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other thing, and that's the problem. That's another part of the instinct, isn't it? That tells you that's something that if that's taken down, there's a reason for that. So for me, everything just seems so blatantly obvious. It's so it's there. It's easy for us to see, but it's unfortunately this is what's stopping other people from sort of having their awakening.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Their awakening. It's interesting that you're doing a thing on awakenings, and it's not everybody's path. It's not going to be everybody's path to have that learning, and I hope it is. As a whole, we should be sort of going in that direction, but sometimes I feel it's not everybody's path.
So how do you, if you think it's all going towards transhumanism and social credits and fascism, basically, and destruction of the human race, that sounds quite pessimistic. Have you got any kind of optimism in you?
Loads.
Go on. What is it? What's it based on?
Which
I'm glad you said that, because I was getting quite depressed.
I've got a belief that if it's unnatural, it has no, it holds no weight, and it cannot continue. Life, spirit, and love, they'll always find a way because they're natural. Anything that's unnatural, like a system that's around for hundreds of years, if it's a system that it's not natural, it'll disintegrate. It can't work. We're in a natural world at the end of the day, and if it's not spirit and if it's not natural, it can't survive. It can hang around for a while like a bad, bad disease or something like that, but it has to fall because it's not natural. That's kind of my belief. So yeah, I think light and love shows the way at the end of
Well,
the day.
I find that, I'm glad you said that. My natural instinct is to come out punching, and on this journey of just doing this YouTube channel, I called it Adventures of the Meat Suit because it's just like my exploration of my own, humanity, or humanity from my perspective, I suppose. And some of the early talks or interviews I did were one particular with Deborah Jane Sutton. She keeps telling me off for getting locked back into the matrix because, and with validity, because and other people have said to me it's an inner job and you've got to raise your frequency. So I've been trying to okay, I'm going to raise my frequency. I'm going to surround myself by love, but then all this stuff is happening at the same time, and my instinct is to go out and fight it. So I'm having my own struggle with that because, can we just, and my vibrational frequency is definitely rising. I've been noticing some very interesting things, especially in the last week. Just goosebumps, electricity, visions, stuff's happening, incredible synchronicities, really, really, really weird stuff. But amazing stuff that I'm getting used to because it's like having a new superpower, but you don't quite know what you're doing with it. Like Spider-Man when he first jumps off the building, he's falling against the wall. Not that I'm equating myself to Spider-Man in any way.
I know.
But have you noticed anything like that, like synchronicities, psychic abilities, anything, visions, stuff like that happening for you?
I don't have so much sort of visions that I'm aware of. Synchronicities are a big thing. I do notice that. And I think it's just really important just to sometimes just remember the fact that just getting close to nature at times, taking those walks in the woods. I went to a full moon ceremony the other day, just purely because I just thought that's what's going to bring me up a bit and take me where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, well, we've just had soup that I made directly from the chard and the stuff in the garden, and it was just that. It's very green. My son was going, "This is very green." I'm like, "I know, but it's good. We're eating the light. It's raising our frequency." Yeah, all that stuff's important. But do you think that an aspect of that optimism is passive, or do you think that it's necessary to? What do you do? What do you do, Peter, if the police start knocking at your door and saying,
this is something I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm basically I'm a very passive person. I try and sort of be as agreeable as possible because I just that's just me. But I'm very much aware. I'm quite disturbed by certain videos I see of arrests that are made and how the police are basically acting unlawfully. In the fact that they're pushing powers that they don't actually have.
Well, the government's acting unlawfully as well all over the world.
Oh yeah, and that's gonna. And I do worry about that day that I could potentially have police knocking at my door, or they won't be knocking, although they could potentially be kicking down a door, just purely because I might not sort of comply to certain things that are required, so it is a worry, it's a fear, and I don't quite know how I'd react to that, because I say I'm quite passive. You know, and you know, the minute you start fighting, you're on that level, you're on their level, but there again, you know, do you show some resistance? I struggle with it, Mark, to be honest.
Well, you
I'm
know,
not sure.
if they came to vaccinate me or any of my kids, they'd have a big fight on their hands. But
Oh yeah, no one's sticking a needle in me.
well, that's what I mean. You know, what's it going to come to? You know, this is the thing. This is why I struggle with the whole, you know, just sit and meditate and everything will be all right kind of idea. And well, let's get out in the streets and let other people know what's going on kind of idea. And I'm kind of like, well, what can I do? Well, I can talk about it on YouTube. I can write poems. That's about it, really. You know, I can talk about it to people I meet. I can walk into a shop without a mask on and wait for somebody to talk to me so I can bring up the subject. But, you know, I'm going to Dublin this Saturday with the yellow vest because I want to see what's going on for myself. And, but, you know, then I'm at the same time, I'm worried that I'm engaging in the matrix again and contributing to it. So, you know, it's an interesting question, isn't it? I think a lot of us are struggling with.
It is a struggle, but you know, I'm adamant. I will not have a vaccine. I won't have anyone.
Like that's the line, yeah.
I won't have anyone put anything. You know, won't put a needle into me, and you know, unless I know exactly what's in it. They know what's in it, which half the time they don't. Mm-hmm. You know, so yeah, that will be a case of kicking and screaming. I do have that fear that I'm just going to end up being taken away and put in some sort of camp for people who don't have vaxes. You know, I'll see you in there.
I'll be digging the tunnel out the back. I'll be in the cooler. Right, let's end this on an optimistic note. Then, I mean, what do you do? You go to the moon ceremonies. You eat well. You look very healthy. I think you are.
I try and eat well. I'm a bit naughty sometimes, you know.
Wow, everybody's allowed to be naughty.
Yeah.
You play music. I know you do that. You're a great singer and a musician.
That's my main thing, really.
Isn't it?
That's when I really feel sort of uplifted, is sort of playing and singing, and I enjoy doing it for other people. That's when, because it becomes a two-way energy. Then it's
yeah. I'm the same with cooking. I love preparing food for people, but with myself, I'll maybe not do it as often. So more walks in the woods. Do you meditate?
I try to. Music is usually my meditation. I do a little bit of meditation. I try and put myself in situations where I have to meditate because I'm not very disciplined. But I do try and get up in the morning and be grateful for things. That's a really important one.
Yeah.
I just do the best I can at the moment. But as I say, the music's a real sort of positive thing for me.
Well, it sounds like you're doing really well, and I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. And keep it up. Keep up the music. Keep up the optimism. Keep raising that frequency, and hopefully, I'll see you in the golden age instead of the FEMA camp.
Well, this is it. Well, this is what we're aiming for. And you know what? I see that as a strong possibility. It doesn't. Okay. It won't take a lot for this to topple.
Yeah, it can't. I can't see it sustaining itself, to be honest.
No. Because it's not natural, which is
right. Right, it's not natural. That's the title for this podcast episode. Thank you very much, Peter. I'll speak to you, no doubt, in the near future.
Indeed. Bless you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.